Oops. Oh, well, halfway through, I've already given away all the good stuff. So anybody who's watching this video now is just out of luck. Sorry about that. So anyway, fortunately, I'll be able to store the chat, I believe. Okay. So when you are ANDing the factors together, when all of them are necessary, that is, or another way to say it is, when one cannot strength in one cannot compensate for a weakness in another, then you have to multiply them, and it's a little more complicated than this. Now we could also use the blend operator here, but the blend operator typically only works with two factors. That is, you'd have to use multiple blends. So you would blend the appearance with the wealth, and unfortunately the wealth would be a weighting factor. Blend doesn't quite fit here. It could be made to fit, but I wouldn't use it. I would use this simple thing here, except with the fact that the values of A, B, and C would all be less than 1. Here's a good way to put it. In general, the exponent, A, B, or C, should be greater than or less than 1 in the same way that the number it's exponentiating is. So if appearance is less than 1, then A should be less than 1. If wealth is greater than 1, then B should be greater than 1, so forth. But I realize this is a bit messier. And then the final thing would be the attraction to this man is equal to the result you get. So thus a man who is, who is good looking and wealthy and very sociable, he's going to be way high on this. And then if any of those factors are less, smaller, that drives it down. So so let's take some questions on that. This is a more difficult one. Okay, well, let's move on to a third example here. We'll just talk about bullying at school. Common problem, and suppose you want to make a game or something illustrating the nature of bullying. And in particular, you want to know the susceptibility of a student to bullying. That is, what kind of things make a student, why do people bully one kind of kid, but not another? Why is it that some kids just seem to get bullied more than other kids? Well, let's see. What are some of the factors at work there? One is difference from the norm. Yeah, that's a good point. In any way, any kid who is different in any way is going to be, well, wait a minute though. Can we say that that applies to anything or everything? Or are there certain traits, like would a foreign student be, well, of course you're in Europe, you have a lot of diversity, but still, let's do it for Europe. A kid from Africa or from China, do you think a kid like that would be more likely to be bullied? Let's vote. simple yes or no. Y or N. Would a child from China be more likely to be bullied than
In Italy, I think at Italy, and probably in Italy, it's easier to be bullied if you come from Africa rather than China.
yeah, let's just say China then.
Okay.
So we'll take a vote here. We'll do a committee of artists.
But I don't think it's bullying in that case.
Okay,
Maybe. I think it's something different.
okay, then let me list a few more specific ones. Stupidity, does that seem, my impression is that the stupid kids got bullied more than the smart. Well, maybe not.
Perhaps I would say mental disabilities like ADHD, disattention disorders. Some kids have difficulties in following the lessons, so many bully them. I would say something like that.
Okay. Other
Because
thoughts?
stupidity is something perhaps too much subjective. Perhaps mental issues, disorders can be more reliable.
But at the same time, we get bullies also for people who are the teacher's pet. So I don't think,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
it could be both, like the person who loses track of the lecture or who doesn't understand a thing could be bullied, or like how do you say it, targeted as stupid. But at the same time, the one who follows can be like tagged as teacher's pet and then bullied as well.
Yep. Teacher's pet.
I think the two opposites do not work.
Yeah. Okay, so it might be, again, as Yasmina has pointed out, too stupid or too smart. So again, that's a deviation from the norm. Okay. So it may be that that's our best, but let's consider some other possibilities here. How about poor, the kid who never has good clothes, who's all worn out clothes and crummy shoes.
Yeah.
Did kids,
Yeah, I agree.
that kind of kid?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll say poorer in conformance with Yasmina's point. Let's see. Ugly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially between kids.
Yeah.
More than.
So again, I'll put it as uglier.
Or if they have some problems with speech impediments.
Oh, yeah. That's come on, Chris. Yeah. Okay.
Another thing could be doesn't know how to go on bike.
Oh, can't ride a bicycle?
Yeah, can't ride a bicycle.
Okay.
Perhaps it's too much specific.
Well, it's also that's a black or white kind of thing. It's hard to. Okay, well, we've got three things here that three specific things: poorer, uglier, and speech impediment. And then we have Yasmina's general theory of relativity of bullying, which is just any deviation from the norm. And I think Yasmina is right. The thing is, do we want to have a multidimensional thing? I suppose this is another artistic decision. You could have a whole bunch of traits for every student. You got half a dozen traits, And then you've got all these different students. And so you got this big table of numbers. And then you just figure out the average and the standard deviation for each column. And anybody who's more than 2 standard deviations out from the mean, bingo, that's the one who gets bullied. Very easy. Unfortunately, you guys probably don't know how to do a standard deviation from a mean, do you?
I should know because I did it for some projects.
Okay.
Again, for interaction and user experience, but I wouldn't be able to say it right now. I know I have the formula somewhere on Excel.
That's the only important thing. You know where to look up the formula.
Yeah.
So that's all you need to know. There are just too many things in the world to know. And so the important thing is to know where you can find them. So
Because we need it for analyzing the data from the users.
okay. Okay. Well, for the other people here, I will simply say, Yasmina has proposed a theoretically very good solution to it, and that could handle all sorts of different situations and different age groups, all sorts of different things. And so then you could have as many attributes as you wish, and then you just find standard deviations and then find out who's really extreme on it. Here's an interesting artistic question. Do you measure it by net deviation or the extrema? That is, imagine here's one student who is, I'll use standard deviations. He's 0.2 on this, 0.5 on that, 0.9 here, 0.1 there, and 0.3 there. Do you look at the 0.9 and say that's the one, the only thing that matters, the biggest value? Or do you add them all up and average them? Do you say, is the kid bullied on his average deviation from the norm? Or is he bullied based on the most extreme deviation from the norm?
The second thing?
The second thing. So this would be a kid who could be just as wealthy as everybody else, no poorer, no wealthier, speaks just the same way, wears the same clothes, but he's really ugly. As opposed to somebody else who's kind of richer than other people, kind of stupider than other people, a little bit better looking. I mean, do those things add together, or do you look at the one worst thing?
You look at the one worst, I think. Okay. Because it's the thing that pops up, like it pops out from the rest. And yeah, and people like usually like in bullying, especially, they tend to look just at one side. They're not balanced when they're bullying a person. They don't see all the person as a whole, but they see it maybe just the thing they're pointing at. Or maybe like being very rich is something that like makes the bully feel envious, and therefore, even though maybe you're ugly but you're very rich, this worsen the bullying. Okay, my point here is that this is where you make your statement. It's not whether it's right or wrong. You can't look up this answer anywhere. There's nobody who can tell you, according to psychological studies, blah, 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 blah. No, you're just putting in your assessment of the human condition. And yours is just as good as anybody else's. And of course, yeah, you might want to test it and try a few things, and maybe ask some friends or whatever. But this is, don't sweat the details,
try to put down your idea as precisely as you can, but don't be embarrassed or don't be too modest about the fact that it is your idea. I think you're expressing yourself here through mathematics. So that's the important point I want to emphasize here. The way you do these equations is actually fairly straightforward. Just be sure to save the chat section. And by all means, if I believe you all have my email address, so if you're ever actually working on something and you'd like some clarification, send me an email and I'll see if I can help you out. But basically, that's how you go about doing it. First, you decide on what factors are at work in making the decision. What variables are you going to use? Then you decide, second, you decide on what range, what kind of numbers you're going to use. Are you going to use a number between 0 and 1? Or between -1 and +1? Or between 0 and infinity? You know, how many soldiers does the army have? Or between -infinity and +infinity, floating point number. In general, I would urge you, don't use integers. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're going to use an integer, just skip it, go straight to a floating point number, 1.47389. There is no advantage of integers over floating points, and floating points have a big advantage over integers. So there's absolutely no reason to use integers. Let's see. Third, once you've decided on the numeric ranges for each of the factors you're going to use, then decide the basic logic of how they combine. Specifically, you'll want to know whether both are necessary in some way, or whether one can trade off for the other. The example I often use, actually, this is a bad example because people have disagreed over it. I'll skip that. But sometimes you got to have both, or at least some amount in one. In other cases, though, an awful lot of one can counterbalance an awful lot of the other. For example, when we looked at the support for sanctions, an affinity for Russia would counteract low economic, or I'm sorry, a low economic dependence on Russia. So those trade off against each other. And if they trade off, then you add the numbers together. And if both are necessary, then you multiply them together. And then the next step is to apply weighting factors to each of the terms in your little equation. If you are adding numbers, you weight them against each other by simply multiplying them by some constant value. If, on the other hand, they are multiplying them together, then you have to differentiate them. You weight them by exponentiation, square, cube, square root, something like that. So that's a quick summary. Any questions? Okay, 2 final items. Again, I want to remind you that we will, 3 final items, that you are welcome to email me at any point. That email address should be good until I die, so that might be a fairly long time, well, at least 10 years. But second, let me just ask, do you guys want to have another session? Do you feel like we've covered everything, or do you have a subject that you would like me to discuss? In particular, I mean, like your project, oh my God, I'm near, the deadline is coming and I don't know what to do. Anything like that? Do you want to do another session, or do you feel like I've covered the ground?
I remember that the previous lesson you spoke about showing some of your possible works or related to video games or interactive storytelling. I think it could be.
Yes, I considered that and decided that these are narrow examples that I gave you that are easy to perceive. The problem I had with what I had promised last week was that I realized that all of the examples I could give you were part of a big whole. And without seeing the big hole, you might have difficulties comprehending it. I figured this would be easier. I could still do the bigger hole, the specific examples from my work, but it would, and now that you have this as initial for it, then it might be easier to understand.
Okay.
Well, it looks as if there's only one vote for an additional session. So correct me if I'm wrong, but a third.
I would also like to have another session, like more discussion of expressing the ideas, but I don't know what will be the time, if you will be free, because yes, maybe this month, or you are planning next month. I am not sure.
25th. I know I'm almost certain I am free next week.
As for if the last meeting is going to be next week, no, I probably won't be able to be here.
Oh, okay.
Because the day after I have one final delivery for one studio, so it's going to be a long night probably.
Okay, let's see. Well, then let me just ask. I'm going to ask each of you to type something into the chat. Do you want to have another session exactly 1 week from today? Same time, same day, next week? Y or in or yes or no? 3. We got 3 yeses. Okay, so maybe if we can change the day. And yes. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now let's see if there is another day that would work. How about, so that we can get Sharon in, how about next Tuesday? 6 days, same time.
It worked. For me, it would be better.
Is there anybody who said yes? If you said yes and to the first question, but no to this, just raise your hand.
It's okay for me.
Okay for everyone? So are we set for 2? Oh, nope, Surabi can't. Okay, let's try Thursday of next week.
But Surabi just wrote that she has class
Oh.
until 8:15. So maybe if we can postpone a little bit, because
8:30?
apparently she has also class on, yeah, for me it's fine. Either Tuesday or Thursday, for me it's the same.
Okay, I'm bid Tuesday at 8:30. Do I hear a bid on Tuesday at 8:30?
Thank you.
Okay, so let me write that down. Tuesday, 8:30. And I have specific examples from earlier games. Other topics you'd like to throw in?
If they come up like during next days, can we send you an email?
Yes, please. That's a good way, because right now you've got 30 seconds to make up your mind, and you don't have enough time. And if you come up with an idea, send me an email and I'll work it in.
Okay, thank you.
The final item then is that every month I hold a seminar on interactive storytelling issues. That seminar tends to be, we cover all sorts of different things. It's hard to predict what will be in it, because I'm generally open to people just suggesting something right then and there. But you are all welcome to attend. It is held at this same meeting place, Zoom with the same ID. It is held on 2 hours before this start time. So it would be 6 p.m. your time, Sunday. And it's on the first Sunday of every month. So the next one will be on June 5th. And I've been holding it for several years now, and typically we get maybe half a dozen people. It is dedicated to interactive storytelling. So just a general invitation. Anytime you want to drop in, you're welcome.
But interactive storytelling, a precise type like, you know, only textual storytelling, or you mean every possible kind, like also video games?
Well, interactive storytelling, that is, it wouldn't be video games, and it wouldn't be stories that are part of video games. It would be software whose entire purpose is interactive storytelling. Its entertainment value derives only from its interactive storytelling.
So like softwares like Twine?
Yeah, that's interactive fiction. And
okay.
That's well, near the edge. Interactive fiction is the difference between interactive fiction and interactive storytelling is that interactive fiction is mostly about puzzles, whereas interactive storytelling is about interacting with characters in dramatically interesting ways. It's about drama. And this is a lot harder to do than puzzles. So another indication is that interactive fiction has been with us for over 40 years. The very first interactive fiction was Colossal Cave back in the 1970s. And we've seen all sorts of stuff over the years, many ambitious efforts, a lot of talented people working on it. We have never gotten anything that we can call interactive storytelling, nothing with real drama. Primary reason is because interactive fiction is structured in a Boolean style and involves a simple directed graph, which is usually spatial in nature. So.
And how long does it last?
It's an hour long.
Okay.
By the way, I'll just mention, as a teaching device, you can use interactive fiction to build Socratic dialogues, where the map is not spatial, but is ideas. And so I first proposed this about 35 years ago. And so you can use any of the interactive storytelling tools, and basically the computer is acting like Socrates and saying, no, I was just thinking the other day, what is the nature of morality? And you can give the player several answers and say, oh, you know, that's very nice. But, you know, if that were true, then, blah, 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 blah. Oh, gee, let's try something else. So the Socratic dialogue is the most powerful form of teaching because it is interactive, but it is very difficult to do. I've done a number of Socratic dialogues this way, and I caution you, they are hard to do. So, but something to think about. Okay. Oh, how do you join the seminar? Just, you know, come to Zoom and look for this meeting ID, same meeting ID, and ask to join at you know, Sunday at 6 on June 5th. Okay, then. Last chance for a question. I know you don't like to ask questions, but I'll give you one last chance. Okay, then. I'll see you guys next Tuesday at 8:30 your time.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.